My parents canceled my graduation party because my sister wasn't getting enough attention. They said I needed to be more understanding and let her have the spotlight for once. So, packed my bags and left that same night with nothing but my diploma and a dream. A year later, I'd built a life they never thought I could. And when my sister found out how successful I'd become, her jealous breakdown exposed every lie my parents had ever. The invitation sat on my desk for 3 weeks before I threw it in the trash. Gold lettering on cream cardstock announcing my high school graduation party. Mom had ordered them custom. Spent probably $200 on the damn things. She'd shown them to me with this bright smile, like she was actually proud for once. We're inviting everyone, sweetie. Aunt Karen, Uncle Doug, the Hendersons from church, your dad's work friends. This is such a big accomplishment. I should have known better. With my family, good things never lasted long enough to actually enjoy them. It started on a Tuesday, exactly 1 week before graduation. I came home from my shift at the grocery store to find Mom sitting at the kitchen table with that look on her face. You know the one. The expression that says she's about to deliver bad news, but wants you to think it's somehow reasonable. Jessica, honey, we need to talk about the party. My stomach dropped. What about it? Well, your sister's been feeling really left out lately. She thinks everyone's making too big a deal about your graduation. And honestly, your father and I have been discussing it, and we think she has a point. I stared at her. Chelsea's 15. She's in nth grade. What does my graduation have to do with her? Mom sighed like I was being difficult. You know how sensitive she is. She's been crying in her room every night because she feels invisible. All anyone talks about anymore is you, your accomplishments, your future, your college plans. She feels like nobody cares about her anymore because I'm graduating high school, something that happens once in a person's life. Don't be dramatic, Jessica. We just think it would be better if we postpone the party, maybe do something smaller, quieter. Chelsea suggested we could have a family dinner instead. Just the 5 of us. Wouldn't that be nicer? Anyway, more intimate. The 5 of us. Mom, Dad, Chelsea, me, and my younger brother Tyler, who was 11 and couldn't care less about any of this drama. He just wanted to play Fortnite and eat pizza rolls. You want to cancel my graduation party because Chelsea's feelings are hurt that people are congratulating me? We're not canceling it. We're postponing it. For when? After she graduates in 3 years so she can feel special too. Mom's face hardened. You're being selfish right now. This is exactly what we're talking about. You always need to be the center of attention. The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. I'd been the invisible child my entire life. Chelsea was the baby girl, the one with big blue eyes and blonde curls who could do no wrong. When she threw tantrums at age 12, it was because she was expressing herself. When I got frustrated at 12, I was being difficult and needed to control my emotions better. Chelsea made honor roll once in 7th grade, and Dad took her to Disneyland. I'd made honor roll every single semester since 6th grade, and the most recognition I ever got was a "That's nice, honey," while Dad scrolled through his phone. She wanted to take dance classes, so we took dance classes. She wanted a new laptop. She got a new laptop. She decided she wanted to learn guitar, and suddenly there was a $300 acoustic guitar sitting in her room after 2 lessons, at which point she got bored and quit. I'd worked since I was 16 to buy my own car, a beat-up 2008 Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door and a tape deck that barely worked. I paid for my own gas, my own insurance, my own everything. I'd applied to 14 colleges and gotten into 9 of them, including my dream school across the country. I'd earned a partial scholarship through my grades and test scores. I'd done everything right. And now they wanted to cancel my graduation party because my sister couldn't handle 3 hours where people might congratulate me instead of her. I'm not postponing my party, I said quietly. You already sent out invitations. People already bought gifts. Aunt Karen's driving 4 hours to get here. We'll call everyone and explain. They'll understand. I don't understand. Jessica, you need to be more understanding. Let Chelsea have the spotlight for once. Is that really so much to ask? Something inside me snapped. For once? Are you actually serious right now? Chelsea has had the spotlight my entire life. Every single thing she's ever wanted, she's gotten. Every accomplishment of hers gets celebrated like she won the Nobel Prize, while mine get ignored unless they somehow benefit you. I'm graduating with honors, Mom. I'm going to Stanford on a scholarship. And you want to cancel my party because Chelsea's jealous? Don't raise your voice at me. Ben, don't treat me like I'm disposable. Dad walked in then, still in his work clothes, tie loosened around his neck. What's all the yelling about? Your daughter's being unreasonable about the party situation. Mom said, our daughter graduated top 10% of her class, and you're canceling her party. I corrected. Those are the facts. Dad rubbed his forehead. Look, Jesse, your mom and I already decided. We're doing a family dinner instead. Chelsea needs to feel valued too, by taking away something from me. How does that make any sense? Because you're 18 now, you're an adult. You should be mature enough to understand that sometimes we make sacrifices for family. Sacrifices for family, right? Like how they'd sacrificed my entire childhood to make sure Chelsea felt special every second of every day. Fine. I heard myself say, cancel the party. Mom actually smiled. Thank you, sweetheart. I knew you'd understand once we explained it properly. I'm going upstairs. I walked to my room on autopilot, closed the door, and locked it. Then I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I've been saving money since I was 16. Every paycheck from the grocery store, every birthday gift from grandparents, every dollar I could scrape together. I told my parents I was saving for college expenses, which was partially true. But really, I'd been saving for freedom. The balance read $8,247.32. It wasn't a fortune, but it was mine. Money they couldn't touch, couldn't take away, couldn't use to control me. I opened my laptop and started looking at apartments near Stanford. Move-in wasn't until August, but plenty of places offered summer leases. I could work full-time for the summer, save more money, get settled before school started. My phone buzzed. A text from Aunt Karen. So excited for your party next week. I'm bringing your graduation gift early so you can use it for college shopping. So proud of you, honey. My eyes burned. I blinked hard and texted back. Actually, the party's canceled. Family stuff. Long story, but I'd still love to see you if you want to meet up for coffee. She called immediately. Canceled. Jessica, what happened? I told her everything. The whole story spilled out like I'd been holding it in for 18 years, and the dam finally broke. Chelsea's jealousy, Mom's manipulation, Dad's complete dismissal of my feelings. The pattern of favoritism that had defined my entire childhood. Aunt Karen went silent for a long moment. Pack a bag, she finally said. You're staying with me until you leave for school. Aunt Karen, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling you. Pack enough for a few days and meet me at the coffee shop on Morrison Street in 2 hours. We'll figure out the rest later. What about Mom and Dad? What about them? You're 18. They can't stop you from leaving. She was right. I was legally an adult. I could walk out that door, and there was nothing they could do about it. So that's exactly what I did. I packed my duffel bag with clothes, toiletries, my laptop, and important documents. Birth certificate, social security card, bank statements, acceptance letters, scholarship information, everything I'd need to build a new life. The house was quiet when I carried my bag downstairs. The smell of garlic and tomatoes filled the air, probably her famous pasta sauce. Dad was in the living room, watching the news. Chelsea was in her room, door closed, probably texting her friends about how she'd successfully manipulated our parents into canceling my party. I walked to the front door with my bag over my shoulder and my diploma case in my hand. Jessica. Mom's voice came from the kitchen. Where are you going with that bag? Out. Out. Where? Dinner's almost ready. I won't be here for dinner. She appeared in the doorway, wooden spoon in hand. What are you talking about? I'm leaving. I'll come back for the rest of my stuff later, but I'm staying somewhere else from now on. Dad stood up from the couch. You're not going anywhere. Don't be ridiculous. I'm 18. I can go wherever I want. Jessica Clare. Thompson, you put that bag down right now, Mom said, her voice taking on that sharp edge that used to make me flinch when I was younger. It didn't work anymore. You made your choice when you canceled my party. I'm making mine. Chelsea's door opened. She stood at the top of the stairs in her pajama shorts and an oversized sweatshirt, looking confused. What's going on? Your sister's throwing a tantrum, Dad said. I'm not throwing anything. I'm just done. Done being the backup child. Done being disposable. Done pretending this is a normal family. where people actually care about each other instead of just using each other to feel better about themselves. How dare you, Mom whispered, after everything we've done for you. Like what? Cancel my graduation party? Oh, wait. I should be grateful for that, right? Because it taught me to be understanding and selfless. Well, congratulations, Mom. Lesson learned. I understand perfectly now. I opened the front door. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back, Dad said. I looked at him for a long moment. His face was red, jaw clenched, fists at his sides like he was the wrong party here. Like I was the unreasonable one. Okay, I said simply, and walked out. Mom started yelling something about respect and gratitude. Chelsea started crying. Dad shouted that I'd regret this. I got in my Honda Civic, threw my bag in the passenger seat, and drove away. My hands were shaking so badly I had to pull over twice before I got to the coffee shop. But I made it. Aunt Karen was already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee and a look of fierce determination on her face. You did the right thing, she said as soon as I sat down. I burst into tears. She let me cry for a good 10 minutes before sliding tissues across the table and squeezing my hand. Your mother called me 17 times in the last hour, she said. I didn't answer. She's probably furious. She's probably panicking because you called her bluff. Your whole life they've conditioned you to back down, to make yourself smaller so Chelsea could feel bigger. They never actually expected you to stand up for yourself. What if I made a huge mistake? Did you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. About 18 years of being second best, second choice, second priority. About every accomplishment I'd achieved that went unnoticed, while Chelsea's mediocre efforts got celebrated. About how small they'd made me feel just by existing in their presence. No, I said finally. I don't think I did. Aunt Karen smiled. Then let's get you settled. You can stay in my spare room for as long as you need. We'll go back tomorrow when they're at work and get the rest of your things, and then we'll focus on getting you ready for Stanford. That night, lying in Karen's guest room, my phone exploded with messages. Mom, you're breaking this family apart. Dad, this is what we get for raising an ungrateful child. Chelsea, I hope you're happy. Mom's been crying all night because of you. Tyler, are you coming back? I miss you. That last one hurt the most. Tyler was innocent in all of this. He was just a kid, caught in the middle of dysfunctional family dynamics he didn't create and couldn't control. I texted him back privately. I miss you too, buddy. This isn't about you. I'll see you soon. I promise. The rest of them I ignored. Graduation came and went. I walked across that stage in my cap and gown, shook the principal's hand, and received my diploma. Aunt Karen was there in the audience, cheering louder than any parent. A few of my friends' families congratulated me afterward. It should have felt incomplete without my parents there, but honestly, it felt freeing. My own family didn't show up, not even Tyler. I found out later that Chelsea had scheduled a dentist appointment for that exact time slot and insisted the whole family needed to go with her for emotional support because she was terrified of getting her teeth cleaned. Mom and Dad actually went along with it. Summer passed quickly. I worked full-time at a local bookstore, saved more money, and spent my free time with Aunt Karen. She helped me shop for dorm supplies, taught me how to make a budget, gave me advice about college life that my parents never bothered to share. The bookstore job became something of a refuge for me. My manager, a retired English professor named Margaret, took an interest in my story. She never pried, but she listened when I needed to talk. She recommended books about family dynamics and personal growth, slipping them into my employee discount pile with a knowing smile. You remind me of my daughter, she told me once during a slow afternoon shift. She had to leave home young, too. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is recognize when staying would destroy you. I spent my lunch breaks in the psychology section reading everything I could find about narcissistic family systems, golden child and scapegoat dynamics, and the long-term effects of emotional neglect. Every page felt like someone had written my biography. The validation was both comforting and devastating. Aunt Karen noticed me carrying the books home. We started having longer conversations about family patterns and generational trauma. She told me stories about my mom growing up, details I'd never heard before. Apparently, this wasn't the first time Mom had played favorites. Aunt Karen had always been the overlooked one, while my mom got all the attention and praise from their parents. The cycle just continued with the next generation. Your grandmother used to throw elaborate birthday parties for your mom every year, Aunt Karen said one evening while we were assembling a bookshelf for my dorm. Professional decorations, catered food, ponies, the whole 9 yards. My birthdays were sheep cake and a few relatives in the backyard. When I asked why, my mother told me your mom needed it more because she was sensitive. That sounds familiar. I left for college and barely looked back. Worked 3 jobs to pay my way through because they wouldn't help with tuition. Said they'd already spent so much on your mother. When I graduated with honors, they didn't come to the ceremony. Your mom had a salon appointment that day. I stared at her. I had no idea. Your mom never learned how to share the spotlight, Aunt Karen explained, tightening a bolt on the bookshelf. So, when she had kids, she unconsciously recreated the same dynamic. Chelsea became her, and you became me. It's not fair, and it's not your fault, but it's what happened. Do you think she'll ever realize what she did? Aunt Karen shrugged. Some people never do. They too invested in their own narrative to see the damage they're causing. I made peace with it years ago. My mother passed away still believing she'd been fair to both of us. Your mom will probably do the same. The weight of that realization settled over me. This pattern might never break. My mother might never wake up one day and suddenly understand what she'd done to me. I might be waiting for an apology that would never come, hoping for acknowledgement that would never arrive. How did you stop being angry? I asked. Who says I stopped? Aunt Karen smiled sadly. I just learned to build a life good enough that the anger didn't matter anymore. That's all you can do, really. Make your life so full and meaningful that the people who hurt you become footnotes instead of the main story. In August, I moved to California. Stanford was everything I dreamed it would be, and more. The campus was gorgeous. My classes were challenging in the best way, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. I made friends easily. My roommate Jessica was a computer science major from Seattle with a wicked sense of humor and a coffee addiction that rivaled mine. We stayed up late talking about everything and nothing, and she never once made me feel like I was too much or not enough. I joined clubs, attended events, threw myself into my studies. Psychology had always fascinated me, and now I was learning from professors who were actual experts in their fields. I was thriving in ways I never could have at home. My parents tried reaching out a few times in those first months. Awkward texts asking how school was going, emails with links to articles they thought I'd find interesting. Mom sent a care package in October with homemade cookies and a note that said, "We miss you." The care package sat unopened on my desk for 3 days before I finally looked inside. The cookies were my favorite chocolate chip with walnuts, the one she used to make for special occasions. There was also a new Stanford sweatshirt, still with the tags on, and a framed photo of our family from 5 years ago. I stared at that photo for a long time. We were at some beach, all 5 of us smiling at the camera. Tyler was just a little kid missing his front teeth. Chelsea looked genuinely happy, not performing for anyone. I was 14, still hopeful that things might get better. Jessica found me sitting on the floor with a photo in my lap. You okay? I don't know. They sent this stuff, and part of me wants to call them and thank them. Part of me wants to throw it all away. And part of me is just sad because I look at this picture and I can't remember the last time we were actually happy together. She sat down next to me. You want to know what I think? Yeah, I think grief is complicated. You can grieve the family you wish you had, while also protecting yourself from the family you actually have. Those things can exist at the same time. She was right. I could miss the idea of having supportive parents while also recognizing that the reality of my parents was harmful. I could want them to change while also accepting that they probably wouldn't. I kept the cookies and shared them with my dorm floor. I donated the sweatshirt to the campus thrift store because I already had 3 Stanford hoodies, and I put the photo in a drawer where I wouldn't have to look at it every day, but wouldn't throw it away either. But they never apologized, never acknowledged what they'd done, never admitted that canceling my graduation party had been wrong, or that their treatment of me throughout my childhood had been unfair. So I kept my distance, polite but brief responses, surface-level updates, no real emotional investment. Tyler and I stayed in touch through video calls and text messages. He told me about his soccer team and his classes and the new video game he was obsessed with. I told him about California and college life and sent him bunny memes. He asked when I was coming home, and I kept saying soon, even though we both knew it was a lie. The truth was, I had no intention of going back. That house had never felt like home. Anyway, the real breakthrough came 6 months into my freshman year. I'd applied for a competitive research position in the psychology department, something usually reserved for upperclassmen. It was a long shot, but my academic advisor encouraged me to try anyway. I got it. Not only did I get the position, but the professor specifically mentioned being impressed by my application essay in my perspective on childhood family dynamics and their long-term psychological effects. Apparently, personal experience counted for something in the academic world. The research position came with a stipend. Not huge, but enough to cover books and some living expenses. More importantly, it came with prestige. Getting this position as a freshman was basically unheard of, and it looked incredible on a resume. I was working in a real psychology lab, conducting actual research, contributing to a study that would eventually be published in an academic journal. My name would be on that publication. At 18 years old, I was already building the kind of credentials that would set me up for graduate school and beyond. I posted about it once on social media, just a simple announcement with a photo of me in the lab wearing a visitor badge and holding a clipboard. Excited to start my research position in developmental psychology. Dreams really do come true. The response was overwhelming. Friends from high school congratulated me. Professors from my department commented with encouragement. Even people I barely knew left supportive messages. But the comment that hit hardest came from Mrs. Patterson, my high school English teacher. Always knew you were destined for great things, Jessica. So proud to see you thriving. I screenshot that comment and sent it to Aunt Karen. She replied with about 15 heart emojis. What I didn't expect was a silence from my family. No likes, no comments, nothing. Even Tyler, who usually reacted to everything I posted, stayed quiet. I found out later that Chelsea had made a family group chat specifically to discuss my post, calling it attention-seeking and rubbing their faces in it. Apparently, she'd convinced everyone to ignore it as a united front. The pettiness would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. 67 likes comments from friends and professors. Aunt Karen shared it with a caption about how proud she was. I didn't think much of it until my phone rang 3 days later, Mom's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello, Jessica. Hi, how are you? Her voice was overly cheerful, the tone she used when she wanted something. I'm fine, busy with school. I saw your post about the research thing. That's wonderful, honey. Really impressive. Thanks. Listen, I was thinking maybe you could come home for spring break. It's been so long since we've seen you. Chelsea really misses you. I doubted that, but I didn't argue. I'm planning to stay here for spring break. I have work. Surely you could take a few days off. We'd love to see you, and you could tell us all about school and your research position. I'm sure everyone would be so interested to hear about it. There it was. Everyone, meaning the extended family, the church friends, the neighbors, people they could brag to about their daughter at Stanford doing important research. Now that I had something impressive to show off, suddenly they wanted me home. I'll think about it. I lied. Great. I'll plan on you being here. Oh, and Jessica, your father and I were talking and we'd like to make it up to you. We realize we may have handled things poorly with your graduation party. We thought we could throw you a belated celebration while you're home. Invite everyone. Make it really special. May have handled things poorly. That was the closest thing to an apology I was going to get. I said I'd think about it. I have to go. I have class. I hung up before she could respond. Jessica looked up from her laptop. Let me guess, family. My mom wants me to come home for spring break so they can throw me a party and show me off to everyone now that I have something worth bragging about. Are you going to go? Absolutely not, she grinned. Good. We're going to Mexico with Sarah and Emily. Already bought the plane tickets. You're coming with us. And just like that, spring break was settled. 4 college girls, a cheap resort, and no family drama for an entire week. It was perfect. Mexico was exactly what I needed. We spent mornings on the beach, afternoons exploring local markets, and evenings trying new restaurants and laughing until our stomachs hurt. Sarah taught us basic Spanish phrases, most of which we butchered terribly. Emily dragged us to every photo opportunity she could find, building an entire Instagram aesthetic out of our trip. On the 3rd night, we ended up at a tiny bar with live music. The band was playing covers of American songs with a Latin twist, and the energy was infectious. We danced until our feet hurt, drank fruity cocktails that were definitely stronger than they tasted, and talked about our dreams for the future. I want to open my own practice someday, I told them, shouting over the music. Help kids who grew up like I did. Make sure they know it's not their fault. Jessica raised her glass to Dr. Jessica Thompson, future therapist and destroyer of toxic family systems. We toasted to that, to futures we were building ourselves, to lives that belong to us and nobody else. I posted photos from Mexico on social media. Beach sunsets, fruity drinks, laughing with friends, living my best life without them. Mom left several voicemails asking why I wasn't coming home. Dad sent a tour text saying I was being disrespectful. Chelsea surprisingly didn't say anything at all. That should have been my first warning sign. The real explosion came in April right before finals. I'd been invited to present my research findings at an undergraduate symposium. It was a huge deal, a chance to present in front of professors, graduate students, and visiting academics from other universities. My professor had nominated me specifically, saying my work showed exceptional insight for a first-year student. I posted about it on social media, tagging the university and thanking my professor. The post got picked up by Stanford's official page and shared widely. Local news from my hometown somehow got wind of it and ran a small article. Local graduate makes waves at Stanford. That article included details about my research, my scholarship, my position in the lab, and quotes from my professor about my potential for graduate school and a career in psychology. My phone started blowing up immediately. Suddenly, everyone from home wanted to congratulate me. Neighbors I barely knew, teachers from high school, distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. And then Chelsea called. I almost declined it out of habit, but something made me answer. What? You think you are so special, don't you? Her voice was shaking with rage. Chelsea, what are you talking about? Stanford this, research that. Everyone's so proud of Jessica. Do you have any idea what it's been like here? Everyone asking about you, talking about your accomplishments, acting like you're some kind of genius while I'm just the other daughter nobody cares about. The irony was so staggering I actually laughed. You're joking, right? This has to be a joke. I'm not joking. You left and suddenly everything's about you again. You're not even here and you're still taking up all the oxygen in the room. Mom and Dad won't shut up about you. Every family gathering turns into the Jessica show. Nobody asks about my life anymore. Chelsea, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you're not sorry. You love this. You love being the special one for once. Well, guess what? I told everyone the truth. I told them how you abandoned your family over a stupid party, how you're selfish and ungrateful and only care about yourself. I told them everything. My stomach dropped. What exactly did you tell them? The truth. That you chose some random party over your own sister's feelings, that you threw a tantrum and ran away from home like a child, that Mom and Dad tried everything to reach out to you, but you refused to forgive them for one tiny mistake. I told Aunt Karen too. I called her and explained how you've been manipulating everyone with your sob story. Cold settled in my chest. And what did Aunt Karen say? She hesitated. She hung up on me, but that's because you've obviously poisoned her against the family too. Or maybe it's because she knows you're lying. I'm not lying. You did abandon us. I left after 18 years of being treated like I didn't matter. There's a difference. Oh my God, you're so dramatic. We treated you fine. Better than fine. We gave you everything. You got everything, I corrected. I earned everything I have. There's a difference there too. But I don't expect you to understand it. Everyone's finally seeing you for who you really are. The perfect golden child act isn't working anymore. Is that what you think this is, an act? I felt surprisingly calm, detached almost, like I was watching this conversation happen to someone else. Chelsea, I spent my entire childhood watching you get praised for doing the bare minimum while I had to be perfect just to get noticed. And when I finally accomplished something worth celebrating, it got taken away because you couldn't handle 3 hours of not being the center of attention. So yeah, I left, and I built a life without any of you. And I'm happier now than I've ever been. That's not an act. That's just me finally being able to exist without constantly making myself smaller for your benefit. You're such a... I'm done with this conversation. Don't call me again. I hung up and immediately called Aunt Karen. She answered on the first ring. I was about to call you. Chelsea just lost her damn mind at me. She called you? Oh, honey, she did more than call. She showed up at my house screaming about how I ruined her family by encouraging you to leave. My blood ran cold. Mom was with her? They ambushed me after my morning walk, started going off about how I manipulated you against them, turned you into some ungrateful monster who thinks she's too good for her own family. Chelsea was absolutely hysterical, crying, screaming, saying horrible things about you. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Don't apologize. You know what happened next? Your mother started agreeing with her. Started telling Chelsea she was right, that you'd always been selfish and difficult, that they should have been harder on you growing up. I felt numb. What did you say? I told them exactly what I thought, that they'd spent 18 years neglecting you in favor of Chelsea, that they'd created this entire situation by canceling your graduation party out of pure spite, and that you were thriving at Stanford precisely because you'd gotten away from their toxic behavior. Then I told them to get off my property before I called the police. Did they leave? Eventually, but not before Chelsea had a complete meltdown. Started ranting about how you'd stolen her life, how everything should have been hers, how it wasn't fair that you got to be successful while she was stuck at home being ordinary. Your mother didn't even try to calm her down. She just stood there agreeing with every awful thing Chelsea said. What about Dad? He was in the car, never even got out. Just sat there like a coward while his wife and daughter harassed me on my own doorstep. I sank onto my bed, phone pressed to my ear. This is insane. It's reality. This is who they really are, Jessica. And frankly, I think Chelsea did you a favor. She showed you that no matter what you accomplish, no matter how successful you become, they'll never be happy for you. They'll always find a way to make it about them, to minimize your achievements, to punish you for daring to outshine Chelsea. You needed to see that clearly. She was right, but it still hurt. The thing about dysfunctional families is that a part of you always hopes they'll change. You hope that one day they'll wake up and realize what they've done, and they'll apologize, and everything will magically be better. You keep that hope alive even when every bit of evidence says it's pointless. Chelsea's breakdown shattered that hope permanently. Over the next few days, the full scope of what she'd done became clear. She'd gone on social media with a long, rambling post about how I'd abandoned my family and was now acting superior because I went to Stanford. She claimed I cut off all contact with them for no reason, that I'd refused to come home for holidays, that I was too good for my own family. Now, she conveniently left out the part about my graduation party being canceled, left out years of favoritism and neglect, left out every bit of context that would explain why I'd made the choices I made. The post got traction in our hometown. People who didn't know the full story started commenting, calling me ungrateful and stuck up. Former classmates who'd never liked me anyway piled on. But something unexpected happened too. Other people started speaking up. Friends from high school who'd witnessed my family dynamics firsthand. Teachers who'd noticed the disparity in how my parents treated their two daughters. Even some family friends who'd always felt uncomfortable with how Chelsea was treated versus how I was treated. They told their own stories about how they'd seen me working multiple jobs while Chelsea got a weekly allowance. About how my parents missed my academic award ceremonies, but never missed Chelsea's dance recitals. About times they'd overheard my parents dismissing my accomplishments while praising Chelsea's mediocre efforts. The narrative Chelsea tried to create fell apart under the weight of the truth. Aunt Karen posted her own response, a measured but firm statement about what had really happened. She didn't attack my parents directly, but she made it clear there was much more to the story than Chelsea was telling. My former English teacher, Mrs. Patterson, wrote a comment that made me cry. I taught both Thompson girls. Jessica was one of the brightest, hardest-working students I ever had the privilege to teach. She earned every opportunity she's received. I'm not surprised she's thriving at Stanford. I'm only surprised she put up with her family's treatment for as long as she did. The tide turned slowly, but it turned. Chelsea's post got deleted within 48 hours. I heard through Tyler that she'd had a massive fight with Mom about the whole thing, screaming that everyone was turning against her, that this was all my fault. Mom tried calling me. I didn't answer. Dad sent an email. I didn't read it. Chelsea sent a text at 2 in the morning. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I blocked her number and went back to sleep. Finals came and went. I aced all my exams, earned a 4.0 for my first year, and got invited back to the research lab for a paid position over the summer. My professor was already talking about graduate school recommendations and potential PhD programs. I was 19 years old with my entire future stretching out in front of me, bright and full of possibility. Summer came. I stayed in California, working in the lab and taking a summer class. Jessica and I got an apartment off campus for the next school year. It was tiny and kind of expensive, but it was ours. Aunt Karen visited in July. We spent a week exploring San Francisco, hiking in Muir Woods, and eating incredible food. She met my friends, toured the lab, and sat in on one of my summer lectures. "Your parents missed out on an incredible daughter," she said over dinner one night. "That's their loss, not yours." "Do you think they'll ever realize that?" I asked. She considered the question carefully. "Honestly, I don't know. Some people are too proud to admit when they're wrong. But even if they do, Jessica, you don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them a relationship. You don't owe them anything." I nodded slowly. I used to think family was supposed to be unconditional. Like no matter what happened, you were supposed to work it out and stay together. Family is supposed to be unconditional love and support. "But what your parents gave you wasn't love," she said softly. "It was conditional approval, based on whether you made them look good without outshining Chelsea. That's not family. That's manipulation." We flew back to visit Aunt Karen's city in August. I needed to get some things from storage, stuff I'd left behind when I moved to California. We planned the trip carefully, scheduling it for when my parents would be at work and Chelsea would be at some summer program. Tyler met us there. He was 12 now, taller and lankier, his voice starting to crack. He hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. "I missed you so much," he said into my shoulder. "I missed you too, buddy." We got lunch together, just the three of us. Tyler talked nonstop about everything I'd missed. His soccer team, his new friends, the books he'd been reading. He didn't mention our parents much, which told me everything I needed to know about how things were at home. "Are you ever coming back?" he asked finally, pushing his fries around his plate. I looked at Aunt Karen, then back at Tyler. "Not to live, no, but I'll visit you. And when you're older, you can come stay with me in California if you want." "What about college? Will you come back then?" "Tyler, I don't think I'll ever move back here permanently. This place doesn't feel like home anymore." His face fell, but he nodded. "I get it. I heard what they did with your graduation party. That was messed up." "Who told you about that?" "Aunt Karen. She said I deserved to know the truth since everyone else was lying about it." I squeezed his hand across the table. "None of this is your fault, okay? And it doesn't change how I feel about you. You're my brother. I love you. That's never going to change." "Even if I'm related to them?" "Especially because you're related to them. Someone's got to turn out normal in this family." He laughed and the tension broke. We spent the afternoon at the storage unit sorting through boxes of my childhood. Yearbooks, old awards, photographs, stuffed animals, evidence of a life I'd lived before everything fell apart. Some of it I kept. Most of it I donated or threw away. There wasn't much point in holding on to memories that just made me sad. As we were loading the last box into Aunt Karen's car, my mom's SUV pulled into the parking lot. Tyler went pale. They're not supposed to be home yet. Mom parked 3 spaces away and got out. She looked older than I remembered, tired. She approached slowly, like she was afraid I might bolt. "Jessica, I heard you were in town." "We're just leaving." "Actually, can we talk, please? Just for a few minutes." Aunt Karen put a hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to." "I know." I looked at my mom. "And you have 5 minutes." We walked a little distance away from the car, far enough that Tyler and Aunt Karen couldn't hear us clearly. Mom twisted her wedding ring around her finger, a nervous habit she'd had for as long as I could remember. "How are you?" she asked. "I'm good. School's great. I love California." "That's good. That's really good." She paused. "I saw the article about your research." "Yeah. You're doing incredible things, Jessica. I'm proud of you." The words I'd wanted to hear my entire life. Now they just felt empty. "Are you here to apologize?" I asked bluntly. She flinched. "I'm here because I want you to know that we miss you. Things aren't the same without you." "That's not an apology. I know we made mistakes with the party, with how we handled things, but we're still your family. You canceled my graduation party because Chelsea was jealous. That wasn't a mistake, Mom. That was a choice. One of many choices you and Dad made over 18 years that told me exactly where I stood in this family." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Explain how it was fair that Chelsea got everything she ever wanted while I had to work for scraps of approval. Explain how it was reasonable to cancel the one thing that was supposed to celebrate my accomplishments because your other daughter couldn't handle not being the center of attention for 3 hours. Chelsea was struggling. I was struggling too. I struggled my entire childhood and nobody noticed because I didn't throw tantrums about it. I just worked harder, hoping that eventually it would be enough. But it never was it? Because the problem wasn't that I wasn't good enough. The problem was that I wasn't Chelsea." Mom's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to admit that you were wrong. I want you to acknowledge that you treated me unfairly. I want you to take actual responsibility instead of just saying you made mistakes like this was some minor misunderstanding. I did the best I could. Your best wasn't good enough, and I'm not going to keep pretending it was just to make you feel better about yourself. She wiped her eyes. So that's it? You're just going to cut us off forever? I'm going to live my life. If you want to be part of it, you know what you need to do. But I'm not going to chase you anymore. I'm done making myself smaller, so you can feel like a good parent. I walked back to the car. Tyler was crying silently. Aunt Karen had her arm around him. Let's go, I said quietly. We drove away, and I didn't look back. For the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like the bad daughter or the selfish one. I just felt free. Free from the endless cycle of guilt, manipulation, and comparison. That night, sitting in Aunt Karen's guest room again, I realized something important. Sometimes closure doesn't come from an apology. Sometimes closure is just accepting that you deserve peace, even if the people who hurt you never say sorry. I opened my laptop, typed up a message to my professor confirming my fall research schedule, and then wrote a thank you email to Aunt Karen for everything she'd done for me. For the first time in my life, my future didn't feel like a distant dream. It felt like a reality I'd built with my own hands.